Among the many urban legends that circulate, there are some that are particularly difficult not to believe. Unlike stories of ghosts or supernatural creatures, these legends are imbued with realistic elements, making them much more believable and fascinating. One of the most curious and disturbing is certainly the legend of the diver found dead on a burnt tree, also known as the legend of the Canadair, who, on a scorching summer day, has never allowed themselves a refreshing swim in a clear lake. Soaking in the water, even for just a few minutes, is a common experience for many of us. It is perhaps for this reason that even the most skeptical, in the face of the legend of the Canadair, cannot help but see his certainties waver. The story of the diver found dead in a tree. Legend has it that some time ago, not far from here, where here can be wherever the narrator or reader is, a violent fire of colossal dimensions broke out. The forest rangers were immediately alerted and several firefighting aircraft, including a Canadair, set off to put out the flames. The Canadair, to carry out its mission, reached the sea a few hundred kilometers away, filling its tanks with large quantities of seawater. After several trips, the fire was finally extinguished. However, while patrolling the devastated area, firefighting teams came across a macabre discovery: a charred human corpse, wearing a diving suit, fins, mask and spearfishing rifle. A vision that is both grotesque and inexplicable. But there is an explanation, albeit terrifying. Legend has it that the Canadair accidentally sucked the diver in during one of his water supplies. Some claim that the diver died of a heart attack during the suction, others believe that he died only after being dropped on the fire, by impact or flames. Finally, some categorically refuse to believe this story, arguing that the mouthpieces of the Canadair are too small to suck in a human being. However, this legend, with its mix of the absurd and the possible, has inspired writers, directors and screenwriters over the years. The legend becomes pop culture. One of the most famous examples of this legend in popular culture can be found in Barney's version, the work of the Canadian writer Mordechai Richler. In the novel, a character named Boogie mysteriously disappears, and Barney is accused of murder. Years later, Barney remembers that, on the day of his friend's disappearance, a Canadair was flying over the lake where Boogie had dived. Director Paul Thomas Anderson used a similar episode as a prologue to his famous film Magnolia. The film opens with a voiceover about a June 1983 article in the Reno Gazette, which tells of a diver named Delmer DeRyan found dead in a tree after a fire. The narration, accompanied by images, shows Delmer at work as a croupier, while strolling through the casino, and finally while diving into the lake. Shortly after, a Canadair takes water from the lake and dumps it on the fire, leaving Delmer charred on a tree. This prologue, which lasts about 5 minutes, does not have a direct connection to the main plot of the film, but it does emphasize the theme of the absurdity and randomness of human life. Television has also covered this legend. In an episode of the series CSI, Las Vegas, a man in a diving suit is found charred in a tree. The explanation given at the end of the episode is that the man ended up there precisely because of a Canadair. The Canadair, features and operation. To better understand the plausibility of the legend, it is useful to know how the Canadair CL-415 works, the aircraft often featured in these stories. The Canadair CL-415 is an amphibious aircraft equipped with two turboprop engines, designed for firefighting operations. Canadian-made, it is able to collect large quantities of water by flying over bodies of water such as seas, lakes and rivers at low altitudes. When a fire breaks out, the Canadair reaches the nearest body of water and passes over it in low flight, filling its tanks with about 6,000 liters of water in just 12 seconds. Then, he heads towards the fire and dumps the water on top of the flames. It can carry out up to 9 water loads in a single flight, covering considerable distances. The main criticism of skeptics is that the Canadair's filler mouths, while wide enough to collect large amounts of water, would not be large enough to suck up a human. In addition, the filling process happens very quickly, making it unlikely that a diver will be caught without realizing it, and without resistance. Reality or fiction? Despite reasonable objections, the legend of the diver sucked into the Canadair continues to persist. This is because, unlike many other urban legends, this story contains elements of reality that make it particularly disturbing. The idea that such an unlikely and absurd event could happen in the course of everyday and ordinary activities, such as a swim or a fire extinguishing operation, adds a layer of angst that captures the imagination. In addition, the spread of the legend through literature, film, and television helped keep it alive in popular culture. Stories that combine realistic elements with the fantastic tend to remain etched in the collective memory, challenging the limits of our credulity and fueling endless discussions about what is possible and what is not. In conclusion, the legend of the diver found dead on a burnt tree, although probably unfounded, continues to exert an irresistible fascination. Whether it's for its component of fatal randomness or its macabre sense of humor, this story remains a perfect example of how urban legends can intertwine reality with fantasy, leaving even the most skeptical to wonder about the truth hidden behind the myth.